G'day friends, welcome to today's YouTube video. My name is James, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. Today's Mermay, day 20. Sorry, I like to tuck all the hair up there. Sometimes there's like one little strand that comes down. Mermay day 20. It's a bit of a weird one today. It's giving very Creature of the Black Lagoon. And don't know how that happened. I got the circle stencil out. I wanted it to have like a really wet look, kind of mermaid hair vibe. But I got the circle stencil out and then the ruler, and then it just became all these tangential lines that kind of interconnect and like fed off each other and then became really geometric. It's kind of weird, but it was interesting to do. I used my Faber-Castell connector pens to color it all in. I've since added Bianca, a photo of Bianca, our eldest female black cat, to this and matched the style. And then I've also added another photo of me in a Snapchat filter screaming, but it's the sun being eclipsed, so it's really weird. It's my face screaming, but it's that happening as well. I don't know why I did it. I thought it was funny, so I added it. So this page is very odd at this point, but just go with it. I mean, it's one of those ones that I feel like the process was more enjoyable than the final product, and there are a few of those in my Mermay challenge this year, and I think that's just an interesting thing. I really do believe that's a huge part of art journaling for me, is enjoying the ride, enjoying the journey, really not worrying about the final piece, the final result. And that is funny to me because I did used to have this idea about art that like I was working towards a finished product or like a finished goal. Now I think my finished product is the journal being finished, but not any idea about the types of pieces that I'll create. Like I don't think, oh, I hope I have a whole bunch of, cute drawings of puppies in there at the end. Some people might have these things they like to do and then want to feel like they've got a whole collection of that reflected in there. All I really want reflected at the end of my process is a full journal. So really don't care whether things look good or look bad, or if I want something to look good and it's not working out, I do care then. But for the most part, for the Mermay challenge, like I said, it's been do whatever I feel like whenever I feel like, and make 31 videos out of it. So it was pretty open expectation. I think that's why I've had such a blast. I mean, I know it is. It's why I keep telling people to do the same thing. But yeah, it's interesting. It was an interesting process. So enjoy that as I enjoyed doing it. Hopefully you enjoy watching it. Today, I've just got "Why Japan again?" on my little piece of paper. And I put, because I felt like it would help me answer, who, what, why, when, where, how. So I'm going to give you that as a topic of discussion today. Who, me, I would like to go again. And then I was thinking, well, who else is there that I could still see? I have friends over there. There are obviously the Japanese cast members that I worked with years ago. That would be lovely to see. And some of the Japanese fans that I had out there would be lovely to see again. But also other performer friends, some that I didn't meet out there, some that I actually met here who have since gone out to work over there. It would be lovely to catch up with them again. What? Dancing, specifically, because there are other options that I had considered back in the day. Early on in the piece, back in high school when I was studying Japanese, we had a couple of Japanese exchange students stay with us, and I thought that would be an option for me. I went and did some weekend camp with some company that did Japanese exchange student type things. Absolutely hated it, so I figured I think I got my mom to pick me up early. It was very much the typical go to a sleepover, call your mum halfway into it and say, find a reason to pick me up, because I hated it. It was cold and it was wet and it was out in it was close enough to home where I felt like mum could pick me up, and it was irritating. I didn't like the people there. They irritated the life out of me, so I wanted to go. I don't have a lot of patience, and that has never changed. So I did consider Japanese exchange student. Obviously, I'm a little too old to be a Japanese exchange student now. The other thing I thought I might end up being if I couldn't dance out there and I wanted to go work out there was an English teacher, because a lot of Australians and a lot of other people have gone over to Japan to teach English. The thing about that was I felt like a lot of people ended up in a lot more rural parts of Japan teaching English than you were likely to end up in, Tokyo. We lived in a place in when we worked at Disney called Shin Urayasu, which is like, there's an Urayasu and Shin means new, so it's kind of like the new one. And then it's like having Mexico and New Mexico. They're not related to each other, I don't believe. But ours was, I believe, a city built upon landfill. It was kind of like an artificial extension to the shoreline. It's right on the bay, the Tokyo, I think it's Tokyo Bay. And so there was a seawall not too far away from our apartment block. It was it was like a little gated apartment block. You had to go through security to get in there. It was a few buildings, and then all the foreign entertainers lived in there. And so that is where I didn't even get to where. Why was I talking about that? Anyway, because people ended up in rural Japan. Well, we lived in Chiba Prefecture, which is right near Tokyo. When we got on the train where we lived to get to literally the Tokyo Central Station, it was about 20 minutes. And you could guarantee it was 20 minutes on the dot, because if you've ever been in Japanese public transport, it is to the second. So very, very convenient, very close to everything. So I loved that. But yeah, I didn't have to go through any of those routes in the end because I ended up working there. I did, in another parallel universe, I could have chosen differently and could have worked at Universal Studios Japan. Originally, when I was out of high school, I turned 18 in my final year of high school. I was never going to university, so that wasn't my issue. But I didn't know where I was going to go, so I was actively applying and got accepted into fashion school at East Sydney Tech, or I don't know what they call it in the end. Ultimo College? I don't know. It was at TAFE, but it was renowned as the best fashion course you could do in Australia. And so I had done that. I thought that's where I would end up if I didn't end up going and dancing. And I had auditioned for 2 different places, and it was Universal Studios Japan was the first audition I went to, and then I went to the Tokyo Disneyland audition after that. And they were both in Sydney. It was hundreds and hundreds of people, super competitive. I was still in high school at the time. It's really weird being in high school as an 18-year-old in Australia because you're legally an adult. You can go out clubbing all night and then turn up to school in the morning. It's so weird. And I just remember I had a conversation with my mum and said, should I go to full-time? Can you pay for me to go to full-time school instead of university? And maybe I can go and do that for a year, and then I can go and audition, because that was typically the route a lot of people would take. They'd go to this full-time performing arts college where I think you get a diploma or something. I'm not quite sure. It's accredited, but it essentially becomes 5 days a week of singing, dancing, acting, and you do that for a year. Right at the end, you have this big showcase. Lots of agents come and they'll sign you, and then they'll put you in auditions, and you go and have the career you want. And that was what a lot of my friends were doing, and what a lot of people had done, and a lot of people that I was auditioning with had done. And so a lot of people from my grade didn't even go to the auditions because they were going into full-time. So a lot of the people that I saw that I knew from school were the people that were the year above me who had just finished that for the whole year, or people who had done it a couple of years prior. And, I was in there fresh-faced, 18 years old, very eager, very competitive. And yeah, but when I asked my mum if I could do that, she said, and I know it sounds harsh, but it's the reality, she said it. She said, well, if you're not good enough now, you'll never be good enough. And it's not true, but it did motivate me to think, well, she's not going to pay for me to do it, so I got to get this job or it's curtains for me. So anyway, went in there, super excited to go in, and booked both. There's a bit of another sidebar conversation story about the fact that I lost my Tokyo Disney job and then I got it back. I'm sure I've told that story before, but that's not really relevant to why I want to go now. Just an interesting side story. In the end, I went and I absolutely loved it, and I think that's just a big part of it. That's a big part of why I want to go back. Because I've got to why here. We'll discuss the why afterwards. When? I mean, honestly, next year. I would love to go next year, maybe the year after that. The only factor I have in when is my age. I don't really care if it takes another 5 years or if it takes 5 months. I just don't think realistically I could go 5 years from now. I mean, I think I can. I'm going to keep dancing for as long as my body will hold out, but my surgeon after my accident said that around 40 I would probably need a walking stick, or he just said don't expect your foot to hold out for that long, that there'd be arthritis issues and that I might need some assistance with walking because it just was such an intense injury, and a lot of the issues with what happens with those crush injuries, it just becomes degenerative. Like, it's not something that I'm gonna get stronger and stronger and stronger with as I age. So I do kind of have some weird delusion that that's going to happen, that like the more I keep dancing and the more I keep doing stuff now, the stronger my foot is becoming. I think scientifically, realistically, it's probably not. It's probably just becoming a little bit weaker and more damaged every time. But I don't know. I feel strong now, so I'm just going to keep going with that. And I'll be delusional all the way until I get there. And that's how I've always been. So I don't think I should stop being like that now. But yeah, hopefully next year, I would love to be there next year or the year after. It's not really up to me, is it? It's just up to the opportunity. Where, like I said, Tokyo Disneyland, I would also be curious to see how, I can't go back and see how my life would have panned out if I had chosen Universal instead. But if there was an opportunity just to dance there and not have to sing, unfortunately, a lot of the opportunities there, you have to sing, and I just don't want to do that. I would consider Universal Studios Japan as well. I've always been fascinated by that contract and that setup. I think that would be interesting. And I've been to Osaka before. I've been to Universal. Those were fun places to visit. Osaka, I would imagine that, well, the comparison I pull is that Sydney is like Tokyo and Melbourne is like Osaka. In the same way that I would say, if you want to, like, you have to go to Sydney if you're going to Australia, because you just have to see the stuff. But if you want something younger and more vibrant and more culturally kind of exciting, go to Melbourne. But yeah, you do have to go to Sydney. It's kind of like the thing too, right? So if you go to Japan, you have to go to Tokyo. It's the place. Like, you got to go and see it all. But Osaka was just such a wild ride. Like, it was fascinating to be in Osaka for a couple of weeks. So I really enjoyed that. And I'm sure I could enjoy working there too. So I'm not dead set on Tokyo Disneyland. It is my dream and my passion though. So I am mostly interested in just that. But I would never say no to going back either way. And then how? Dancing. I'm going to dance my way there. I'm going to get on these tiptoes and find a way back. Dancing is one of those interesting things because, like, you love to do it. When it becomes your job, you still love to do it, but there's that aspect of like, well, you've got to be able to do what you need to do the job. And it's not so much about just having this passion for it anymore. It's about having the right skill or the right skill set, and sometimes about having the right look and being able to fit into a costume and being able to like do something 5 times a day, 5 days a week. Like, there's a whole bunch of other factors that go into it that, you've really just got to be in the right situation, don't you? Like, it's kind of wild to think that we all end up there anyway, considering how many things have to go right for you to be able to get there. So I'm never taken for granted just how lucky I have been. At this point, though, I know that there are some real factors in my way, and my weight was definitely one of them, because it's just not something that there is an opportunity for there. It's just not the way it is. So I can't change that. I'm not in the business of trying to change it. The world is what it is. It happens as it happens. And, I'm grateful for the opportunities that have opened up to me here, but it's just not realistic that those same opportunities are available to me elsewhere. And so I have been losing weight, not for that, for myself, just because I wanted to be slimmer and I wanted to live a healthier lifestyle and enjoy the feeling of fitting back into my old clothes. I don't think I'll ever get back into the medium. I'm not sure what was going through my life that I was a medium at any point, but apparently that was true. But I do want to just get back to where I was, because I just felt the best that way. I felt the healthiest that way. I feel great now, but I know I'll just feel a little bit greater if I could be marketable in the way that I want to be. Like, it's your dream, right? So you want to go and do those things that will help you get there. And even though I don't want to make that my driving force, because it just screws with my head to do it for those kinds of reasons, it is a factor. It's a factor that I keep in mind, my weight being one of those things, my appearance being another, the fact that I've aged, and you can visibly see that I have aged since the last time I was there at 21. That is a factor too. Sometimes you're just not able to pull off what you're able to pull off before. And so those opportunities become more limited as well. So I don't know. I'm not going to say no to me. I'll let them say no to me. But, I think if I can just hopefully keep moisturizing at night, fight back the wrinkles, shed the extra kilos, I think I'll be in the best place I can be to give myself the best opportunity I could have to get back out there. But then seriously, I mean, it just comes down to, again, what they're looking for and what they end up choosing. I've been thinner and younger and still not gotten it. So you never really know, but there's a lady out there. Sorry, so distracted. There's a lady out there just like running onto the road, which is a little scary. I've seen her around before though. She has a big branch today. Poor thing. I think she's fine. She's on the footpath now. Anyway, but yeah, that's how I think I'll get back out there. If not, holiday. We'll be out there on a holiday. Dead certain of it. Especially right now, because the yen, we get a lot of money for going over there. So I would love to take a holiday sooner than later. Just don't really have any time. And if I did get some time, I have to say I'd probably go home first before I go to Japan. It'd be a hard sell to want to do that and not do both. I would try and probably go to both places. Maybe I just like a week at home and a week in Japan, but that sounds expensive. Anyway, yeah, and the why. I guess the why. It just became my dream again. I don't know. It was such an easy life. I think we be really, really, really realistic. There is a lot of it that is so nostalgia driven, and there's a lot of it that is so much me just living in the fantasy of my past that I'd be lying to say if that wasn't fueling a lot of it. And is that a bad thing to go and chase? I'm not quite sure. Maybe I'll learn that. I don't know that now, so I'm not going to say anything about it now. But, it was just a much easier lifestyle. It was a much easier way to live and to be, and it made me so happy. I've often described my time there as feeling, just like the most right fit for me. And I also feel like I experienced many, many, many times where I just felt pure bliss and euphoria. Like it was just, I'd be riding my bike down the street and I'd be just in awe of the fact that this was what I got to do. This was my life. This was what I was experiencing and enjoying. And I can't even just think about those things without knowing how good that felt and wanting to relive that experience. And it's just a completely different type of experience. I don't think I've ever really not wanted to do it. I think, when I first went there, I wanted to stay more than anything. It wasn't what ended up happening, and there's a billion stories about a billion different stories that I could tell you. Don't think they're great for public consumption, but if you ever meet me in real life, we'll have a long chat. I didn't end up staying the first time. When I went back the second time, I wanted to do everything I didn't do the first time, because the first time I was living like I was a single mother with 7 children that earned $50 a week. I don't know why, but I was on a serious budget. I was like, I got to save every dollar I got because I have to retire and I have to think about this, this, and this. I was 18 years old. It was ridiculous. I did not need to do that. I don't know why I was doing. I think I just took inspiration from my home life and thought, I'll be I'll save. Big mistake. When I went back the second time, we had the earthquake and the tsunami. So that really set me up for a completely different experience. But I also then became like, well, life could end at any minute, so let me just go and have the most fun in my whole life. And I actually just loved that. Like, that was everything to me. And we're all kind of trauma bonded in that way. And then I wasn't saving every penny I earned because I had told myself I wouldn't do it that way that time. So I was having a lot more experiences and a lot more excitement. I was traveling a lot more throughout the country, just doing the most. And with a great bunch of people as well. I loved both contracts, but for very different reasons. And, my first cruise ship also went through Japan, so I got to see all the other parts of the country that I hadn't seen before and visit more rural areas, which was really interesting. And I realized that there was this Japanese culture that permeates through the entire country, and that there were the things that I loved about, the tiny little bits about my daily life I missed about Japan when I lived there. When I would visit for the day, when our cruise ship would dock there, I could experience those things again, and it just felt so good, and it would leave me on such a high for the rest of the week. And then I'd get to go back there the next week and visit again, and I'd be like, gotta get my sticky pigs, gotta go to the conveni, gotta go and do this, gotta go and do that. And I just I loved it. I get so excited just to even talk about it and think about it because I just think I'm hardwired to dream about that and to have a fantasy about that. And so, you know, after that, I would visit again on holidays, went to visit a friend. Steve and I had gone. Stella and I went to do Memory to Memento over there. That's the last time I've been there. And I think I spent my 19th, my 20th, my 21st, and my 27th birthdays in Japan. Just I just loved it. I loved it for so many different reasons. I loved the job too. Like that was, when they're like, oh, you'll never work a day in your life. I mean, I knew what felt like work, but it was so fun to go and do that job. And it just felt like I was going to dance class. I mean, dance class, but then also with the excitement of putting on costumes and having people clap for you every 5 seconds. It's a bit egregious, really, to do a job where people have to clap for you every 5 seconds. I mean, I feel like that when I go to Disneyland and I'm doing a parade. I feel like I get a new audience every step I take. There's just a whole bunch of new faces, and they're all so excited to see you, and they're interacting with you. It's this huge rush of adrenaline you get as a performer, and that's a part of your job. Like that happens 5 times a day, or over here it happens 2 times a day, and it's just a lot. It's a lot of feelings. It's a lot of excitement and enjoyment for your day, and when you don't do it, you just miss it. You feel like you're living without it. It's like something could be better for you, but you just can't get it. And so that's why I think I was so depressed. Well, I mean, I know I was so depressed for all those years I wasn't dancing, and why my life has gotten exponentially better since I've started again. But, the dream to go to Japan is so specific because it was really beyond the job. And even though the job was originally my vessel to get to Japan and the way that I felt like I could experience it for a long period of time, the easiest way I could experience it, because let's be real, they flew me there, they gave me accommodation, they made sure I had a ticket to get to and from work. Like, I didn't have to worry about anything. It was like, I was like being a baby, just a big baby that was being taken care of 24/7. It's the most privileged existence ever. So you want to go and have the experience again, because my life got a lot more difficult and a lot more confusing as I get older. And of course, I want to go back to being a baby. But all that aside, culturally, there was so much about the lifestyle that I would live that I really liked. I really enjoyed having a structured routine of a work week, 5 days a week. I think my days off were always consecutive. I don't think I had split days off. So, being able to know that my weekend was coming up and that I'd be able to do this on the phone, I just became so structured, and there was so much routine to my life that I really enjoyed. But we were all foreigners living out there in this big, apartment complex. So you could just go and visit a friend 2 doors down, 3 floors down. You were always being able to have these social experiences at work, but then at home as well. But then you also had your own space to be in, your own studio apartment, so you could also have some alone time. That was something that I never really got on cruise ships until my last contract, where I had my own cabin, because a lot of my experiences on cruise ships were similar, and a lot of what I loved about cruise ships was the same stuff that I loved about working in Japan. That constant socializing, you're being close to each other. The dancing was fun to do, and it was great. You got to experience visiting all these different countries. I mean, that was a bit different, but the excitement level was kind of the same. But I never really got alone time on a cruise ship, and that became really taxing at times. But in Japan, I had that. And then there are just things that are so unique to Japan, like sticky pics. And I know it sounds like a stupid thing, but you see me get on here every other day, or every week, or every day this month, and do these art journals. That, like, being able to just go into a photo booth for a few dollars and take photos with friends and put stickers all over them and print them out and have them, I just can't even tell you how happy that makes me. I wish they were everywhere here. I don't know why sticky pics is such a Japan-only thing. They have them at the Capitol building in Sydney. If you're ever in Sydney, just go there, and they're super expensive, but you just have to try it. I love that. I mean, I love it. It's such a way that even when you think about the Japanese people as a culture, the fact that, like, they have these everywhere because they commemorate these social experiences. They form when groups of friends get together and they've had a day out together and they go to these sticky pics to kind of commemorate it, they cut off their little slice and they put it in their little folder. It's a memory. Like they're essentially just journaling their experience, and they're commemorating it. I just think that's so special, especially now how digital everything is. We rarely print photos anymore. I say we, but obviously not me. I print them all the time. But from what I remember, I mean, my auntie used to go to the Kodak shop every week and collect her latest set of photos from the disposable camera. I mean, my family just don't really do that anymore, and those things still remain in Japan. Those special commemorative type experiences. You do the rally stamps because why not? Like, why not just have a rally stamp thing? They're just bizarre things that happen only there that I really love. I love the food. I love eating everything in Japan. I love the little restaurants like Caesarea, as not Italian as it is. I just love it. Karaoke. I love to sing karaoke. It's like the only time I actually love to sing. And then the transport can get you anywhere at any time. Well, not at any time. Definitely not at any time. Any regular human hours time, not night owl times. But you can get there at the time it says it's going to get you there, and it's clean and it's safe. I've lost my wallet 6 times. I think my first contract alone, I lost it 6 times, and it always came back to me. I don't know why. I'm not usually a person to lose stuff like that, but maybe I was just really going through it. I'm not quite sure. The convenies, the little convenience stores, the 7-Eleven, the Family Mart, the Lawson, being able to go and pick up food that is so affordable. And I'm not talking like, oh, it's $5 for some thing. It's like $1. It's $1. I mean, I can't even tell you the last time I felt like I got something at a fair and good price, like a cheap price. That's what I want again. I want to be able to pick up good food for a good price. I also just love convenience store fried chicken, an American dog, the little Pluto pups, the little corn dogs. So much that I love about it. The cafe culture. Oh, I love the cafe culture. That's where I think it gets a little expensive, funnily enough. Fashion. There are no rules to fashion in Japan. I know they say that there is no rules to fashion, but I couldn't really put on everything I wanted to put on and walk around downtown Anaheim without getting a few strange interactions. But in Japan, I would put on anything. I had these huge balloon pants, or I used to wear these fisherman pants, this polka dot it was like a wet look polka dot jacket that I used to wear. I used to wear summer suits, like short summer suits in linens. Just so many clothes that I would never really wear anywhere else. Loved that. The actual Tokyo Disneyland Resort itself is an experience unlike any other, and just to think of a place that I want to spend a whole day there, that's just where I want to be. The entertainment, I have to say, and I'll be fair because I know people like might be planning trips there. I'm holding off until all the entertainment comes back the way it was pre-COVID. I'm hoping that it's going to. I can't see why it wouldn't, but even Big Band Beat right now is still in their COVID version, so maybe next year, hopefully all of that changes. It's been a long time. I know that culturally, the Japanese are a lot slower to move through things like that because there are a lot of systems in place. When we first went there, they gave us a packet of information. And one of the things that they really tried to stress was that this is the East and this is not the West. And so things in Eastern culture are very different to things in Western culture, and please not try to think of it as better or worse. Just think of it as different. And that is something that you really do have to get used to, because you bring a lot of your thoughts about about employment specifically in the West, and you bring them over there, it's not going to translate well. There's just like, I was running to my backstage area, and we had to put our name on a board to say that we were kind of clocked in. And the stage manager would be at the door literally 30 seconds before, the time would strike where you had to be checked in by. And I was running from the bus stop to try and get there. And the stage manager is looking at me. And I know that if I did not get in there and put it on the board by the time she had turned around to check, I would have been marked late. Even though she could see me that I was right there, and she saw me running, and she's like, like, come in, put it on quick. You have about 10 seconds left. It's just, yeah, there's no There is no getting around stuff like that, especially in Japan. But also that really speaks to me too. I don't know why, weirdly enough, in my world, I just really respond to, ironically, structure and order and rules like that. Maybe only there though. Maybe I've just changed since then, and maybe I would be really bad at it. I'm not quite sure. I'm willing to learn that about myself too. There may be a lot of new things I might learn about myself on this new journey, but you know, it would just be great. It would just be great. And I'm not even like excited. I mean, that's a lie. I would be so excited to think of it all happening and just to, get those balls rolling. But I'm happy and excited now to have the feelings of being happy and excited about it. Do you know what I mean? Because someone was saying you can't, like, whatever you can experience, you can actually only experience right now. So if you're waiting to feel excited for something that's coming 6 months from now, and you're holding off on the excitement because you're like, well, I'll just be happy when it gets here in 6 months, then when 6 months rolls around, like, you've just kind of not been excited for 6 months. But if you can spend all those 6 months in this excited feeling and being, anxious for it, not anxious in a bad way, but you know what I mean? Like, you're really feeling how good it's going to feel, then you've had 6 months of that. And I feel like, why not? I mean, I don't know that it's going to happen. I have faith that it'll happen. I have hope that it will happen, but who knows what's going to happen. But if all I can experience is right now, and all I can experience right now is the excitement of what might happen, I'm just going to be excited about it. And I'm just going to be happy that I'm excited about it. So I think that's why I feel like I'm just talking as if it's all happened, but it's really all up in the air. Who knows? Maybe if I don't get to go to the audition or something, maybe my excitement will dip. But that's not today, and that's not now, so I don't have to worry about it. I'll just be happy that I shared some of those thoughts with you and move on with my day. I hope you have a lovely day 20 of Mermay. Wow, we're almost at 3 weeks. It's almost at the end. I have almost finished filming all of them. I got up to 28 today, so I have 3 more to film, and then I'm completely done. But yeah, I'll speak to you when I see you next. Goodbye.